And we are on Facebook Live. Welcome, everybody, and thank you for joining us today. We are so excited to really be part of the UN Generation Equality that has just launched today. And we know that many people have been very busy on this process for a long time. I was quite astounded, excited, and surprised by the amazing presentations and interjections by female power at the opening of the Generation Equality in Paris today. Young and older women shared their stories of hope, support, empowerment, and they challenged all in the room, especially the leaders, to stand up if they support gender equality. And of course, the leaders stood up, just as our guests here today have been standing up and filling the gap. We have professors, teachers, officials, learners, and most importantly, innovators. Our guests are women who are doing amazing work in their respective sectors. Some have moved outside their comfort zones to innovate and empower the girl child, to give voice, to lend a hand, to build a community, to encourage, support, and innovate. We are so excited that you are joining us. And especially as we look into what has happened today at the UN Generation Equality. Justin, can we please see that little link?
Founders that COVID-19 has been the biggest disruptor to education in modern history. It's no longer just a problem, it's meager to call it that. It's a crisis in education, and we must act on it urgently. Today, I stand on behalf of the young girls and women who are continuously changing this world and demanding for better. We're demanding for our fundamental human rights, and our messages are clear. Firstly, we demand to see a redesigning and restructuring of our global education systems to make them more inclusive, gender transformative, and accountable. It is clear that we need to invest in our global education systems to ensure that they're yielding to the problems and the key sustainability issues of the world, from the climate crisis to gender equality and leadership. We must change that. Secondly, we're demanding that young girls and women are meaningfully involved in key decision-making spaces and processes. We're not just a photo on the face of a campaign. We're leaders of today, we're change makers, and we're frontliners. Secondly, recognizing that girls' education is key and fundamental to building back equal post-COVID-19. We're demanding that education systems are developed and are changed to suit these world's criteria and this world's needs. Thirdly, we demand to see an investment in making schools safer and free of school-related gender-based violence. This involves ending the already wide gender digital divide that has resulted in education becoming a fundamental human right, and instead it has been looked at as a privilege. We're demanding to see that in terms of our health and well-being, girls and young women, and the intensification of resource mobilization to provide adequate resources for menstrual hygiene management and ending school-related gender-based violence, SRHR, as well as WASH facilities. Leaving out these constituencies of education.
Thank you so much. She was like really fired up there. And she was, I'm getting it in, I'm getting it in.
She was fired up. She was fired up.
Tell us what you have been doing, Mabatu. You guys have been so busy. And what I love is the intergenerational, intersectional work that is happening. Enlighten us. Welcome.
Thank you very much. I think for us, since the launch of UN Women Generation Equality Forum, the forum started last year. As you recall, last year was going to be 25 years since Beijing Affirmative Action. And when UN Women looked at all the country reports, again, after 25 years, there was no country that can say they have achieved those actions that were agreed in Beijing. So they looked at, we now left with 10 years to SDG 2030. Now in these 10 years, what can we do drastically that will change the trajectory with regards to gender equality? And then the issue of generation equality, looking especially on those actions that a lot of countries didn't perform well, like gender equality, economic justice and rights, sexual rights and health, the issue of technology, feminist leadership, gender, climate change. All those were, mostly all countries were found wanting. So because of that, the issue was that now, what will we do differently that will make the whole world to come together to ensure that by 2030, we reach that generation equality? So the lessons learned from Beijing, but looking forward to 2030. And what came out very strongly were the voices from young people to say, in the 25 years, you went to Beijing, you came with this beautiful platform for action, but you have not reached that. So let's utilize, let's see what we are going to do together to ensure that we reach generation equality. So if you look at this generation, is from adolescent to the elderly, that each and every generation, they've got a role to play in their own spaces. They are influencers from primary school to university to even old age homes. So in each generation, we've got people who can really change the trajectory to gender equality. So then last year, we were going to launch it at the Committee for Status of Women in New York. Unfortunately, COVID happened and we could not go and launch the generation equality. However, each and every country was given the responsibility to those that raised their hands. What UN Women did, generation equality is not a government-led process. It's a multi-stakeholder-led process. So not all governments are part of GEF, and we're hoping that by September, when we go to UNGA in the UN, most countries, most member states will join in. It's civil society organizations, private sector, philanthropies, and government who are saying, we want to make a difference. We want to ensure that in this decade, from where I am, I influence change, and I'm going to make sure that happens. So this morning in South Africa, we had our big intergenerational dialogue. And the dialogue was the era, the generation that went to Beijing and the generation of 2021. And it was, we're looking at what were the issues that you addressed in Beijing and what are the issues that they're addressing now. There are commonalities with regards to issues. Women's empowerment is still an issue. Gender violence is still an issue. Yes, we have made some big strides in education. We have made some big strides in other sectors where in Beijing, there were a no-no. I mean, women in many countries, in Beijing, they couldn't vote. In many countries, there would be one woman in a board, but there have been a lot of changes. However, all of us agree that patriarchy is still the biggest threat globally. And because most of us were not prepared, Nolita said something like Beijing gave us language. We now could open doors because of that language. But not all boardrooms were ready for that language. Not all companies were ready for that language. As a result, there was pushback in some instances, while in some instances, they opened up. And if you look at where they've opened up, it was especially those that people saw as soft skills for women. So we saw a lot of women going to the social sector, while the technology and economy was still reserved for men, and in a country like ours, especially white men. So we're saying now, in this new generation, the issue of wars and conflict in the continent are still high. So women, peace and security is still the biggest issue that we need to address. And we've seen that in many peace missions and peace negotiations where women are, those peace hold. But where are men, they go to negotiations, after 5 years or so, they break to conflict. So that experience is saying, then you need to bring more women to be peace builders, negotiation, because those peace becomes longer in the nation, in that country. We then, as a country, had a multi-stakeholder forum that was looking at the different action coalitions that are in generation equality. We have six action coalitions. The first one is economic justice and rights. South Africa raised their hands to be a co-leader in the action coalition on economic justice and rights. And then we also wanted to lead on gender-based violence. However, gender-based violence was given to Kenya, but we are supporting Kenya on that action coalition. Then there's a body autonomy and sexual and reproductive health and rights action coalition. There's the fourth one is feminist action for climate justice. The fifth one is technology and innovation for gender equality. The sixth action coalition, it talks about feminist movement and leadership. And the last compact is a compact on women, peace and security and humanitarian action. So as a country, we are co-leading with Germany, Spain, and Mexico, and Bill and Melinda Foundation, and other CSOs on the economic justice and rights. Now, when we raised our hands as a country to co-lead, we then came back in that multi-stakeholder forum and say, what are the areas that we can commit as commitment makers? Because what the UN Women, together with Mexico and France, who are the core, they looked at, besides the action coalitions, there are people who might not belong to the action coalition, who are individuals sitting in their area, but making a difference in their communities. Some of them have money, so they can commit money. Some are at universities, they can commit research and policy. Some are at community level. They can commit to raise awareness around the issues that are being said in the action coalition. So we then said we want to commit to do the following as a country. We said, because we are leading on economic justice and rights, we are committing to implement a 40% preferential procurement in the public sector, and also looking at women-owned businesses domestically, and to further advocate in the continent for the 30% public preferential procurement and globally. Because if we do that, we will increase the number of women entrepreneurs in the country, but also support women's businesses globally. That was our first commitment that we are making. The second commitment that we're making as a country is that we want to launch an advocacy accelerator for women's digital financial inclusion in Africa. And this initiative will mobilize stakeholders to invest towards new and strengthened platforms to increase access and utilization of digital financial products and services for women in Africa. The third commitment that we have made as a country is that we will support the development and implementation of the AU protocol and program of action on women in trade through the Africa Free Continental Trade Agreement, which will ensure the activation of a trade facilitation program for cross-border traders and women in business. Our fourth commitment is on violence against women. I mean, for us, we talk gender-based violence and femicide. As South Africa, we commit to drive a multi-sectoral, a whole of society approach to responding to and preventing GBV through locally driven, integrated, and resourced implementation of the NSP on gender-based violence and femicide. Our fifth commitment is to establish a GBV fund in South Africa to finance efforts to eradicate gender-based violence and femicide, including adding on the foundation that we have now from the private sector-led fund that was launched by the president a month or so ago. Our sixth commitment that we're making is to support the establishment of the African Union Cycle of Champions on gender-based violence on women and girls, where a group of heads of state and other champions will lead policy and programmatic efforts to address gender-based violence in Africa. And the seventh action is on women, peace and security, where we say we will continue to train grassroots women and youth domestically and in Africa on conflict resolution, mediation, and negotiation. And the 8th Action Coalition, we want to implement the hashtag Peace for Peace drive. This includes hosting the annual Youth Peace Festival, hosting Peace Corner conversations, and building the Peace Wall, and continuously, annually hosting the Peace Awards. The 9th commitment, we continue to strive for a gender-responsive humanitarian aid that will restore human dignity and bring relief to women and girls in vulnerable situations. Our 10th commitment is focusing on what we are celebrating on this year. This year, as a country, we have declared 2021 as the year of Charlotte Maxeke. So our 10th commitment is focusing on honoring this heroine through the implementation of the Charlotte Maxeke Africa Women's Economic Justice and Rights Initiative. South Africa will mobilize the global community to support women's leadership across all the action coalitions. This initiative will launch collaborative projects with targeted support for women and girls to ensure that they have increased opportunities in decision-making across political and economic spheres. And we advocate for the rights of all women, particularly adolescent girls and young women in all their diversities, to access sexual and reproductive health, rights, information, and services, particularly during this COVID-19 era. Now, as a country, we also have joined commitments with other action coalitions. So we have joined the action coalition that talks of ILO Convention 190. So South Africa joins in the collective commitment on the ratification and implementation of the ILO Convention C190 as follows. We, the leaders and commitment makers of the action coalitions on gender-based violence and economic justice and rights, commit to prevent and eliminate gender-based violence and harassment against women in all their diversity in the world of work, incorporating an inclusive, integrated, and gender transformative approach that applies to all sectors, whether private or public, both in the formal and informal economy, and in urban or rural areas, through one or more of the following: to advocate for the ratification and implementation of the ILO Convention number 190, for the ratification of ILO Convention number 190 and its effective implementation in line with the ILO recommendation number 206. The adoption and implementation of gender transformative work-related policies and programs in line with the provisions of the ILO C190 and R206. And lastly, create safe and healthy work environments that recognize the right of everyone to a world of work free from violence and harassment. These are the commitments that we have made now in Paris. Now, what it means is that after Paris, we are going to have another meeting, a multi-stakeholder meeting, to say, how then are we going to ensure that we implement this? Because it's not government only that's going to implement. So we have to come together and craft plans of actions with clear indicators on how we are going to reach these objectives, so that by 2026, when we go to the UNCSW, our report really shows either 50 or 60% delivery in terms of changing the trajectory with gender equality. Thank you very much.
Thank you very, very much. I think that gives us a really full understanding of this process and the processes that go with it. Carolyn, I'd like to invite you. I know that I actually found you on Facebook because I was so impressed with the work that you are doing. Justin will show us some pictures, and then we will talk about, you'll introduce yourself and tell us about your project, and well done on your hard work too. Justin, could we see Carolyn's pictures? So Carolyn, please feel free to talk to us about what we are seeing.
Okay, a very good evening from Kenya. My name is Caroline Yokabi. I am the founder of Save a Dream Foundation. I founded this foundation after I realized that our girls and our boys, they need empowerment. And on this issue of gender equality, we can teach them from the ground. So I prefer to deal with these small girls and boys. At least I teach them. I plan to empower them and show them at least this is the future, this is the generation, this is what is coming. As we see the fights that are ongoing in our parliament, as we strive to get the gender equality, I believe that once we empower our girls, we'll have the proper leaders in future. So I started this foundation, and I've been donating sanitary towels to girls because so many girls have been dropping out of school due to lack of these sanitary towels. You can imagine losing 5 or 10 girls in a year due to lack of sanitary towels, and these are some of these things that we can get. You can just rally your friends and you can get a few packets which will enable these girls in school. So I believe a small empowerment will go a long way for these young girls. And for the boys, I believe gender equality starts even with, it will affect even men, because once we teach these men that our women, the importance of women in our societies, what they do, they are our mothers, they give birth to us, So once we are able to teach even these guys that we can respect these women, and we can respect them in small ways. So I believe that our parliament, as things are still going on and the talks to have the women recognized, I believe that we are going far. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so very much, and well done. Thank you, and well done on your work, Carolyn. We are really impressed and very grateful for what you are doing. I would like to come out to Mariam, who is part of the Sheroes Unity Group, and she has a shop. How are you, Mariam? Can you hear us? Mariam, I think you are on mute. I know that you're having to use your brother's phone to reach us, so I hope that you can hear me. Yes?
Yes.
Welcome, my dear. Thank you. I know it's difficult to get through to us, but thank you for joining us. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Justina, we have a clip, or we probably just have the picture of the Sheroes. Thanks, Mariam. You can talk to us about what you do.
Okay, I am a member of the Global African Shearers Union, and we didn't have much time to work in the steering committee because you were part of the advocacy and I was part of the fundraising committee. But the Shearers shop basically is a women-led maker space that provides training services and products to cultivate positive esteem and community-centered enterprise. So basically what we do is it's a safe space for women. We find means to connect with vulnerable women, women that are battered, that are going through a lot in our society. We try to reach out to them. So most of the times we did something like a survey, and then what we were able to come up with was this skin bleaching, a lot of damages it has caused in our community. So we tried talking to a few women, and they would tell us that I am doing this because my friend is doing it. I am doing it because I see people around me doing it. Or I am doing it because I want to satisfy or please the man that I am with. So the reason is not very convincing, because when you look at it, it's not for you. You are doing it for someone else. That means you are damaging your skin to please someone else, which is not very a very good thing. So we came up with remedies. So every end of month, the last Sundays, I organize a workshop wherein I teach them how to make local products and replenish their skin. And then we use products like shea butter, turmeric, we use honey, olive oil, and orange juice, milk, and sometimes cucumber and papaya to scrub their skin and try to regain what has been lost. So there is a social concern for major health problems affecting the population of skin bleachers, as well as fiscal concern related to the problems of skin bleaching in our community. So this is basically what I'm up to, and I am trying to tell them how important it is to maintain your skin. And dark skin is rich in melanin, and melanin blocks harm UV radiation from the sun. So it's important to maintain a black skin. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. We had also just shown some of the products that were from the different Shiro shops. I'm so proud of the work that you are doing. I know that we've been talking about skin bleaching, which has become actually very popular again. So if you look at many of these influencers, the actresses, and across, it doesn't matter what race you are. You know, I'm South African Indian. In the Indian community, it's happening. In Black African communities, it's happening. So it's across the board, Japanese women, Chinese women. Everybody seems to think that that's what we need to do. We need to change our skin and we need to be lighter. And as you just said now, it is so important to maintain black skin because we are protected in that skin. Thank you so much, Miriam. Thank you. And I'm happy to get you online, even if it was through your phone. Thank you, brother Mohammed. So thank you so very much. We now go to Kwale, who is in Ghana and also part of this Rose, but I think individually also doing amazing work as a former professor who has now moved to Ghana, I think full time. Ma'am, may I welcome you? I think we have a clip that we want to show. Justine, if we could show that clip first.
So we're now standing in front of Philokwaku Girls School's library, which will become the Black Diamonds Girls Club meeting place. So let's come in. A lot of renovations need to be done. As you can see, the ceiling needs to be redone. The electrician is here right now giving his estimate on what it will cost to rewire everything, because things need to be rewired. Electrical outlets need to be put in for the computers and the sewing machines. But if you see the books over here, it will still be used for the children's library during school. But I've been assured that the children who come in will be supervised, so the equipment that we leave here, the materials for the reusable pads, the other things we'll be making, and also the computer sewing machines will not be damaged from the children. So even the windows need to be replaced and make sure it's secured. If you can see it, there are bars there. So we're even putting a light outside so it will be secured. And the headmistress did tell me they will be hiring additional security personnel. So we thank you for your support. I'll be updating you soon.
Thank you and welcome. Please tell us about the amazing work that you are doing.
Well, good evening, and I'm so glad to be here with all these very compassionate and talented women. I repatriated to Ghana last September, just last year, and I started in the States. If you can tell, I'm from the United States. but I legally changed my name years ago to a Ghanaian name because just spiritually I had a connection with Ghana. But I started a nonprofit in Baltimore, which is a predominantly Black city and has its own issues. But when I repatriated in September, I pretty much hit the ground running. In December, I started along with some other local people. We visited and since then, the person who went with the first time to the second D female prison, he no longer goes, but I've been consistent about bringing different people with me once a month. And the women who are incarcerated, um, they aren't treated that well in a sense of given provisions and what have you. So they are given what we call mirror soup, which the soup is so clear they can see the reflection. So I'm a vegan, so we bring vegan food, we bring sanitary pads, toothbrushes, even panties. I mean, everything that we take for granted, we try to bring. Due to initially I was spending my own money, but I recently started getting. Excuse me, trying to get over something. I've been getting donations, and what the plan is, as far as the women who are, once they're released and they're vetted and qualify and they have the spirit to help the Black Diamonds, because that is the name of our organization, Black Diamonds Girls Club. And we target girls ages 13 to 18 years of age. And once these women are released, we will train them and help them train the girls, because I'm so happy to hear the ladies on the platform, some of them platform, are giving out sanitary pads. What we plan to do is make reusable sanitary pads. So I don't want us to have to rely on donations, especially donations from the West. The goal will be, or is, for us to be self-sustainable. So we will be making and selling the reusable pads. So not only is that more economical, but Ghana is laden with trash, especially plastic. So we want to lessen our carbon footprint by not adding any more trash to Ghana. And also we'll be making different other products such as beads and things out of shea butter. There's things that are made right here in Ghana. The cloth of Ghana is known for its beautiful textiles, so why go to China or somewhere else when we have talented artisans right here and we can employ people? So the mission of our organization is to, and I've heard the other panelists speak about this, empower, use that word, empower young women. And especially here in Ghana, I know I never give up hope. When I was back in Baltimore, I heard many activists say that I'm focusing on the youth because the older people, they're lost cause. I don't think anyone's a lost cause. But what I have discovered since I've been here in Ghana is just the culture where, especially when it comes to religion, it is so steeped and embedded in the culture, and that's a whole other conversation. But there are things going on here that we do need to get to the youth before they're indoctrinated and even brainwashed over certain things. And also the lack of opportunities. There's a lot of unrest going on in Ghana now because of the lack of opportunities. And people who are going to school, graduating from school, and there are no jobs for them. So this is what we are assisting, empowering young ladies. Teenage pregnancies are high here because as soon as the girl starts menstruating, as soon as she starts developing, like if she be 11, 12 years old, a grown man will impregnate her. And she feels she has to go this route because of lack of economics and depending on the home life, sometimes is even encouraged because the family needs money. And being an American and having an inside look, I've talked to multiple African American men who have repatriated And they have told me that families have offered their teenage girls to them in exchange for opportunities, economic opportunities to go to the US. So we are planning, and this is what we're doing. This is our mission, to empower young ladies so they don't feel they have to make that option. They have options. College isn't for everyone. So we'll help you with, if that's your goal as far as going to college, but also we will help train you on a vocational skills. So that's it in a nutshell. So I don't want to talk too much because I'm a storyteller as well, so I can't talk.
Thank you so much. Important work that you are doing, and so important, this intergenerational, but also across borders. I think that's really important, that people need to begin to realize that they don't need to leave home, and that we need to be empowered locally, and we need to support each other locally. This is important. I would like to invite Shlubi now, but before we come on, dear, we have a little clip on the MENA Cup, and this might also interest other people in terms of an alternative for sanitary towel or sanitary pad. Justine, do you have the clip, please? So, Shlubi,
yes,
4 different videos, and I was looking for the smallest, the shortest one.
the one, okay.
I'm afraid.
No, that's perfectly fine.
Do you have a MENA Cup with you?
Yes, I do. I've got 2 of them.
There we go. Please go ahead.
Okay, sure. Hello, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much. Oh, you've got your MENA book.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Hello, everyone. My name is Uhlubikazi Njobane. I'm an exercise science specialist by profession, but I am a proud volunteer of the MENA Foundation. I'm a proud period poverty activist, as well as a menstrual cup activist. The MENA Foundation was started much like this panel by a very passionate, strong woman that wanted to eliminate period poverty. And when these women sat down and had a meeting, they really wanted something that would make a change and make a difference. And obviously, like anyone else, the first products that we know are the products that are on our shelves, such as pads and tampons. And when they did more research, this is how they discovered the menstrual cup. And one of the reasons why this cup made so much sense was because of its sustainability and how long it lasts, and because it made so much sense even in a health value. So when we started off and we're trying to penetrate the market, and you'll know in our African countries, one of the most difficult things to do is to address taboos and to eliminate beliefs within, our cultures and within our communities. And if you look at the menstrual cup, obviously you can see that this is a product that literally goes inside the vagina. So we had to look at different strategies, and one of the best ways to do that was to open a dialogue with the elderly, with community members, with leaders, with moms and with dads, and to get them not only involved, but to get them educated on the product. When we go out into communities and we do this work, empowering the young girls is so important, but most of all is to educate the entire community, girls, boys, alike. And the most important thing as well is to also speak on biological factors and to speak on the science of products as well as our bodies. So any person that has been to Africa, or if you are an African child, you'll know that we are brought up with many myths and many beliefs that are attached to almost anything and everything that we do. So you can only imagine how difficult it was to try and address those issues when it came to menstruation. And we all know that there would be no life without menstruation. And a sore and heartbreaking point, I mean, I was listening to Carol's story, is that girls are dropping out of school or are not going to school for a lengthy period of time because of their period. And this is a biological phenomenon. No one chooses to menstruate. No one chooses to be a woman. And if you are a woman, you'll happen to menstruate. Therefore, it is a human rights issue. It is a health issue. And therefore, by looking at the products that we use when we are on our periods, then we are looking at environmental impacts. And I heard the last speaker, I think, Anoako, I hope I said that correctly. She spoke about, how plastic is such a massive, massive problem in terms of just looking at how long it takes to biodegrade. I mean, plastic takes about 500 years to degrade, and we're using 20 pads per month. And so the Mina Foundation just really wanted to focus on a product that will not only be good for your body and for the person receiving or buying the product, but also to look at the environmental impact that these products have. If you have worked in donations like many of these women have, and you've worked in communities, we know how difficult it is to make sustainable changes, because when you go into community and you donate a big box of pads, you inevitably have to come back and make another donation again, and you have to raise more funds to go back to the same group of people. Okay, so now when we discovered the menstrual cup, this cup lasts 5 to 10 years, depending on how long, depending on how well you take care of it. So it is a minimum of 5 years that you can use this cup for. So you can imagine the direct positive impact that making a donation has on a young girl, on a young woman that needs this product. And obviously these women are the most vulnerable of our society. It's little girls that are still in school that cannot yet fend for themselves, that cannot yet provide for themselves. So if they can have a menstrual product for 5 years, that is good psychologically, economically, and also just protecting the dignity of every little girl that receives this donation.
So that is really fascinating. So the cup itself, is there show us how it's used? Yes.
Okay, sure. So the cup is made out of medically graded silicone. So some people do worry about the fact that you have the cup inside you for a couple of hours. Personally, I do wear my cup for up to 12 hours, which is a long time. But if you think about it, all our fake boobs and some of our fake implants are made out of silicone, which can stay in the body for up to 10 to 15 years. So the cup is made out of the same medically graded silicone. So this is perfectly safe to put inside your body. So if you look at the rim of the cup, it looks like it's quite big. It comes in 2 sizes, but it's quite soft and you can fold it. That's one fold that you can do. And here's another fold that you can do so that it can actually fit inside the vaginal canal. And then when it's inside, it can pop open and collect the menstrual blood.
And then so you say you leave it in for the duration of the day, and then you would remove it and rinse it out, right?
Yes. So depending on your flow, obviously, and depending on how low, how your cervix lies. So I'm a very light flow, so I can get away with wearing this for 12 hours. However, if you're someone that needs to wear it for 4 hours or 6 hours, what happens with the cup is it creates a seal once it's inside the vagina, collects the menstrual blood, and then you break the seal empty, and then you reinsert it. You only sanitize it twice per cycle. So at the beginning, before you start your period, or when you start your period, and then you only sanitize it again at the end of your period, because silicone doesn't attract any dirt, bacteria, or germs.
Oh, that is fascinating. That's amazing. And then
Yes.
have the cost of it?
Yes, so we sell, so the awesome thing about the Mina Foundation is that when you buy it commercially, you're donating a cup. So each cup goes for 250 Rand and you donate one. So essentially it's about, you're looking at 125 Rand per cup. And that this cup lasts for 5 years.
Carol, what do you think about that?
Honestly, I'm amused. I only see these cups on social media. I've never used one. And I would want to introduce one to my girls. Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
It will save the environment. I think she will teach me now. She's my friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll talk. I think, Carol, I know you work with young girls. I mean, we have girls as young as 9 years old that use the cup. So with a lot of communities, there's a lot of concerns, obviously, around virginity. There's a lot of concerns around the fact that, if even with virginity aside, the child is so young and is so small, but we forget that our bodies, as soon as we're menstruating, are meant to bear children. Therefore, something as small as this cup, if the child is comfortable and the parents are normally comfortable, we do have girls as young as 9, 10, 11, 12 using the menstrual cup on a regular basis and as the primary menstrual product.
And Akwale, I wonder what you think, because I know your concern was obviously about the plastic. You think something that you could consider for Ghana?
Yes, I have. I'm aware of the cups. I'm so glad that you demonstrated, because I still was wondering how you can get it. So I would assume it needs to cup or like to cover the cervix to catch the blood. Does it need to go in there or like cup up, like open up? Like
yes.
the cup?
So
yes.
If this was, if let's take my fingers or my hands to be like my vaginal opening, you'd fold your cup to make, the base obviously small enough. When you insert the cup inside, it literally opens inside the womb. So your vaginal canal is still closed. And when it's in there, it's still quite tight. I don't know if I'm making sense. So it only opens up once it's inside and it has space to open up inside. And also the cup creates a suction, what we call a suction. So naturally it sucks everything in, and then it is able then to collect the menstrual flow directly from the uterus.
Oh, okay. No, I definitely would be interested. Now, the currency that you mentioned, can you translate that into either the US dollar or the euro? So how much that would be?
I'll do that in a minute. Let me do that for you now.
Mabatu, do you know about the cup? Have you guys engaged with the product? You're on mute, Mama.
Yes,
about
the cup, there has been discussions with government, I think, since 2015. So I have been to 1 or 2 meetings where they presented the cup. I know the cup.
Okay, so if for 125 rands, you're looking at $8.70.
Repeat that, please.
Yeah, so you're looking at $8.70.
Oh, that's it? Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
That's it for 5 years, for literally 5 years.
Mariam, do you know about
I'm definitely interested.
What about these communities that they value, they have issues with virginity? Does it affect a virginity and all those issues? Because you see, this is a product you're going to introduce to young girls. What will the parents say? Are you introducing do you want their girls to lose virginity and all those things? How do you explain that to the parents?
Okay, so like I said, so when we go and make donations, the cups aren't put into boxes and shipped off to the community. We physically go there and we do the workshops and we do the education around it. And as I mentioned before, it's very important to speak on biological and scientific information, so that when the parents are listening, they're not getting confused with what they already believe and with what the body can already do. So first of all, let's address the thing of virginity. A girl or woman or child can only lose their virginity by having penetrative sex. So unless a penis has penetrated the vagina, the child is still a virgin. Okay, so that's one of the most, and this is almost how direct and how raw you need to be about it, is that unless your child is having sex with the opposite sex, if your child is, and if a girl and a boy are going to bed together, that's the only way your daughter can lose their virginity. Second of all, the cup does not have any effect on breaking of the hymen. This is because there's multiple ways that the hymen can break, and given the way that the cup sits, it goes inside the uterus, which means it already has a space to be accommodated. If your child is having their period, they can accommodate a baby. So something as small as the cup should not have an effect on breaking of the hymen. I don't know about in other countries, but I know that in South Africa, a lot of communities that used to look at the hymen don't look at the hymen anymore, because they realize that a lot of the girls' hymens would have broken by the age of 10, 11, 12, 15, up to 18, simply because of activities. If you're a netball player, if you're a gymnast, riding a horse, whatever, your virginity can break from everyday activities. So we have found that even in maybe 10 years ago, community was practicing looking at the hymen. By the time we've got there, and I mean, the MENA Foundation has been around for 5 years. So they've done extensive work, and we are already in Kenya. We are working with partners in Kenya, distributing the MENA Cup. So like I said, the education part cannot be taken for granted, because in our African culture, this is what we struggle with the most, because you're now trying to disprove all these myths. And I see Madam is holding one of our books. We give the parents and the kids books that they can take home and they can read, and they can be educated on each and every subject. There's even sections for them to fill in and answer questions that makes it practical for them on an everyday. And there's Mina, that little cartoon there, that's Mina.
I think, yes, this is important. And then they can write their notes. I think what I like about this is the education that goes with it. Whereas normally, yes, you're giving out all the other issues around the environment, around filling up all these landfills with rust that we're concerned about. So it is a shift, Carol. It's a shift in the way that we think, and it takes time, but we have to do it. As you were talking, Shruvi, I wanted to mention to you, as a production company, we produced a series on HIV and AIDS it was 1999 to 2000. And I remember to Ethiopia in particular, where young people were going into communities. And as you say, it's taboo. And I imagine 20 years ago, talking about HIV and AIDS, we're obviously talking about sex. And when people went in, they spoke about reproductive health, almost as if they were doing a biology lesson. So it was very interesting the way that they spoke. And Mabati, if you remember, in South Africa, we had Love Life. And, I remember saying, oh my goodness, they're just throwing out condoms, and they're having big parties, and they're having concerts, and they're telling us about AIDS. So it's very interesting how different communities approach difficult subjects.
Yes.
It would be wonderful to have that information. I met with Mom Yvonne Chaka Chaka yesterday, in fact, and I was telling her about the MENA Cup, and then she took hers out in her office, and she said, yes, she's also been going into communities, and that they've had
fantastic,
where there were communities that were very open to it, and other communities who really needed explanation, as you're saying.
Yeah, I think.
Go ahead. Go
ahead. We were just saying, like, the reason why we emphasize on education is because when you're speaking on facts, there's no room for debate. You know what I'm saying? And it doesn't give the community or the people that are receiving the education a chance to doubt what you're telling them. A lot of us don't even know about our own bodies, our own vaginas, our own uteruses, what they do and what they're capable of. So when you educate people on the wonders of their bodies and how their bodies are supposed to work, and I mean, that's one of the biggest examples I use, even with girls. I mean, I'm 28. And I've had a baby, and I have girls. I mean, I have friends my age that are like, oh my word, I will never use the cup. And I say to them, but you were able to bear a child. And then in their mind, they go, that thing was 3 kgs big, and now this little thing cannot scare me. And that's why I think it's important to just speak on the biological stuff and just keep on with the education. Eventually, it comes right.
Thank you. Thank you so much. In closing, we have about 4 minutes, and usually we like to ask people, because it's called the F show. So what does F mean to you as you give in your closing remarks? And I always say F for me is obviously my name, Firdaus, but F is for freedom. And as we're talking about UN, gender equality, generation equality, I know that Mama Batu, it looked like you wanted to say something, so I'm going to start with you.
I wanted to say something with regards to the cup, that some younger women, they didn't have meats, but they were just thinking, oh, blood. Oh, I'm going to see blood. So I wanted to find out, how do you deal with that? Because there are those who just can't deal with seeing blood.
Yeah, so that's actually one of the most unfortunate things to happen, is that we're not taught to be comfortable with just our own bodies and therefore our own blood. You know, we understand that this product may not be for everyone. Okay, and we do not look down upon other menstrual products. It's just that in the larger scheme of things, if you can get a larger group of women, I mean, if you feel physically sick and you cannot see blood, that will obviously be a problem, because the cup, like this glass, collects the blood like that. So we don't exclude, and even when we donate, we don't force the girls to use the cup. We're just giving it to them as an option.
Thank you.
No problem.
Firdaus, F again is freedom. Freedom to do whatever I want to do at whatever time without any obstacle in my path. So freedom to associate, freedom to do anything. So F for me is freedom.
Freedom. Anakwale, what does F mean, and your closing remarks?
F means, for me, feminine. And that's what the Black Diamonds Girls Club is all about. We are the catalyst for restoring that divine feminine energy to the world right now, because it needs the healing of the divine feminine. So whenever a Black Diamond comes into the room, you know she's different. You'll just feel her energy. And when she speaks, it just removes all doubt.
That sounds wonderful. Carol?
Earth to me means women, because I believe we are the earth. We give birth to these beautiful human beings around. We do all the beautiful things in the world. We keep homes, we keep our husbands. To me, a woman is somebody who is very, very powerful. And I can use a woman to describe the world and the earth. Yes.
What about you, Mariam?
To me, F is the future, and it's bright, and there is a lot to expect. So love yourself, love everyone around you, maintain your color, and don't change it for anybody else. You're beautiful regardless.
That is so beautiful. F is for future. Look here, what is F for?
I think F for me would be fearlessness. You know, go out into the world, just fearless and relentless. Women, generation after generation, we continue to break barriers, and it's only through teaching and embodying fearlessness that we'll continue to break boundaries. So I think fearlessness is the word for me.
Wow, that's fantastic. Freedom, future, fearless, female, feminine. And thank you so much, everybody, for your time, for participating in this very important, very timely conversation. This is the F show, and we say good night, goodbye. I know sometimes we're in daylight because we have people from different parts of the world, but we're all in Africa right now. So it is good night. Thank you so much. Thank you for being part of the conversation.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.